In the early 16th century, only 2 decades after Europeans first crossed the Atlantic, an Ottoman admiral and mapmaker sat down and drew a map of the known world. Most of it is what you'd expect from that age, beautiful, ornate, and wrong in the charming ways old maps usually are. But one section of that map has haunted researchers for a century, because it appears to show something that, by every rule we understand about history, the man who drew it simply should not have been able to draw. A coastline. A stretch of the world that, at the time, had barely been touched by European ships, some argue not touched at all. And the Admiral himself, in his own notes written right there on the map, tells us he didn't invent it. He copied it. He assembled his world map, he says, from a collection of far older source maps, some of them ancient, some of them since lost to us entirely. And that single admission is what turns a curious old document into one of the most quietly unsettling artifacts in the world. Because if a map from 500 years ago is a copy of maps even older, then the real mystery isn't the Admiral at all. It's the knowledge sitting behind him, reaching back into a darkness we cannot see the end of. Let's be clear about what we actually know, because the facts here are genuinely remarkable even before anyone starts speculating. The map is real. It survives to this day, drawn on gazelle skin parchment, and it is unquestionably a masterpiece of its era. Its maker was a real, accomplished naval commander and cartographer, a serious man with access to the archives and captured charts of a great empire. And crucially, he left us instructions for reading his own work. In the notes written across the map, he explains his method plainly. He did not sail to these places himself. He gathered a large number of existing maps, charts from various sources and various eras, and stitched them together into one grand picture of the world. He mentions drawing on maps that were, by his time, already old. He even refers to source material connected to the very first European voyages across the Atlantic, maps that, if he truly had them, would themselves be lost treasures today. So right away, we're not looking at one man's guess. We're looking at a compilation, a snapshot of the total geographic knowledge available to a powerful empire in 1513, including pieces inherited from who knows how far back. The Admiral was honest. He was, in effect, a librarian of maps. The question is, what was in his library? Now we come to the part that launched 1,000 theories. When later researchers examined the southern portion of the map, the long coastline running down and then bending away to the east, some of them argued that it matched, with startling precision, the outline of a landmass whose true shape was not officially known for centuries after the map was made. The most dramatic claim went even further, that this bending coastline represented a continent's edge as it would look without its ice, a shoreline buried, in our own time, under a thick sheet of glacial ice, and only revealed by modern surveys long after the Admiral was dust. If that were true, it would be staggering. It would mean the map preserved knowledge of a coast as it existed in a distant, warmer past, knowledge that would have to predate the ice itself, passed down through copy after copy of lost maps until it surfaced, almost by accident, on a single sheet of parchment in an Ottoman archive. It is a breathtaking idea. It suggests a thread of memory stretching back not centuries, but perhaps many thousands of years, to a world we have no other record of. And it's exactly the kind of idea we have to handle with real care, because a breathtaking possibility and a proven fact are not the same thing. So let's do the thing that separates real curiosity from wishful thinking. Let's take the skeptics seriously, because they make strong arguments. Mainstream cartographers look at that same southern coastline and see something much more ordinary. Old maps, they point out, are full of distortion. Coastlines get stretched, compressed, and bent to fit the parchment, especially near the edges where the mapmaker was working from fragmentary information. The mysterious coast that seems to swing eastward, they argue, is most likely the coast of South America, a real place Europeans were beginning to explore, simply drawn inaccurately, or deliberately turned sideways to fit the available space. Under this view, there's no lost continent and no ancient ice-free survey. There's just a talented mapmaker doing his best with imperfect sources and a limited sheet of skin, producing the kind of understandable errors that fill every map of the period. And honestly, this explanation is probably the most likely one. It requires no lost civilizations, no impossible ancient knowledge, just the normal, well-documented messiness of Renaissance cartography. If you want the truth, you have to be willing to let the boring answer win when the evidence points that way. But, and this is the part that keeps the mystery alive, even the boring answer doesn't make the deeper question disappear. Here's what I find genuinely fascinating, and it survives no matter which side you land on. Strip away the most extreme claims. Assume the skeptics are entirely right about the ice-free continent. You are still left with the Admiral's own words. This map is a copy, assembled from older maps, some of them ancient, some of them now completely lost. That part isn't a theory. That's written on the artifact. And it means that somewhere behind this one surviving sheet stood an entire vanished library of human geographic knowledge, charts drawn by people we cannot name, based on voyages we have no record of, refined and copied and passed along for generations until most of them crumbled away and only fragments, filtered through one admiral's hand, reached us at all. Think about how much knowledge that implies, and how much of it is simply gone. The Piri Reis map is not valuable because it might show a hidden continent. It's valuable because it is a keyhole, a narrow glimpse through one surviving document into an ocean of understanding that once existed and has almost entirely disappeared. For every ancient map that beat the odds and survived, how many were lost in fires, in wars, in the slow rot of centuries? We tend to imagine the deep past as ignorant and small. Artifacts like this whisper the opposite, that people long before us knew things, mapped things, understood things, and that most of what they knew never made it to us at all. This is the pattern the buried past keeps showing us, over and over, if we're willing to see it. Not proof of impossible ancient super-civilizations, the evidence rarely supports the wildest stories. But something subtler and, in its own way, more haunting, the sheer scale of what humanity has forgotten. Great libraries burned. Archives were looted. Knowledge written on skin and paper and clay dissolved back into the earth. Whole traditions of navigation, astronomy, and craft were passed down by hand until a single broken chain, one lost generation, one destroyed collection, erased them as if they had never been. The Admiral's map is a survivor of that endless quiet catastrophe. It is one page rescued from a book we will never finish reading. And that reframes the entire question. We shouldn't be asking only, how could he have drawn that coastline? We should be asking, how much did the people before us actually know, and how much of it are we, right now, only guessing at, because the maps that held the answers turned to ash? That is the real weight of this object. Not that it proves a fantasy, but that it points, unmistakably, at an absence, at everything that used to be known and isn't anymore. So the next time you see this map held up as proof of some lost super race, or angrily dismissed as nothing but Renaissance sloppiness, I gently suggest that both camps are missing the most interesting thing about it. The truth is quieter and, I think, far more profound than either. A real admiral, 500 years ago, honestly told us that he built his picture of the world out of older maps, a chain of knowledge stretching back beyond his sight and ours. Most of that chain is gone. What we hold is a single surviving link, and through it, the faintest outline of everything the rest of that chain once contained. The past is not a smaller, dumber version of the present. It is a vast dark room, and artifacts like this are the rare match flares that light up, for just a moment, how much is standing in there that we can no longer see. So let me leave you with this. If one honest old map can hint at an entire lost library of human knowledge, how much of what our ancestors truly understood do you think has been erased for good, and would we even recognize it if we found the next surviving page? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.